Yeah, obviously, start with last Saturday. Very disappointing, and that one hurt. They're a really good team, and after watching the film, it really came down to execution. We just didn't execute well enough on offense. I thought the defense played really well at times. They played too many snaps, but they really, I thought they played pretty well. They got TFLs. They affected the quarterback. On the quarterback, I think Frank Harris he just has that it factor, man. He's special, really good player. He just kept getting up, and those guys really rallied around him. He's put his body on the line for his teammates and his coaches, and for that university, and he's a special player, and just have a lot of respect for him and what he did. We just have to get better, and that's what started today. We cleaned up the film on Sunday, did academics yesterday, and got back on the field today and really focused on the execution part. And I thought we, got better today, but, thankfully we have another practice tomorrow. Questions?
Just going back over the game, Phil, just what about on the offensive side that kind of just really bothered you, and just some things that y'all want to clean up when it comes to next Saturday?
Yeah, just the execution. I mean, and that's what we've been telling them, in the team meeting on Sunday. You look at week one, the way we executed, how clean the game was compared to Saturday, it was night and day. And, some of that has to do with some things out of our control as far as guys getting hurt and all that, but it's got to be next guy up. Mentality, and Nash will probably be out for a little bit, but it's one of those deals. We got a lot of faith in the guys that are going to play for him, and I think in the run game, obviously that was something that stood out. Was it's not always just the offensive line. The running backs have to hit it where they're supposed to. The quarterbacks have to control that extra defender, and that's something we worked on all week. And we just got out there and just didn't happen. So we have to do a better job coaching, and they have to do a better job executing. If we go out there, and it was an okay game. They're a good defense and all that, and we were able to do some things here and there, but to click on all cylinders and to our standard, the way it's supposed to look, you got to execute better, and the details have to matter. So I think that point was made, and we got to continue to get better. It was the second game. There's going to be some of that early on. It reminded me a lot of last year when we played C-Law. Week 4, we went out there, and for whatever reason, it just didn't feel right, and they got one on us. So sometimes it's good to get punched in the mouth, and how you respond kind of shows some of your deficiencies, some of the things that you need to focus on. And so we have the good thing is we got the right coaches, we got the right players. We just got to go out there and do it.
When you have a tough loss like that, especially with a rival that, this program wants to beat and kind of wants to get up to their standard, how have these players kind of responded after last weekend?
Yeah, I thought today was good. I thought, there's nobody late and doing all that kind of stuff. I think it was one of those deals where I think the attitude is good. We just have to get better. We just have to focus on the details, focus on the execution, and it's got to mean something to you. And it's getting there. But like I said, game 2, there's going to be some growing pains with this thing. But hopefully we get back on track this week versus a really good opponent.
Coach, this week, home opener, those are always fun, especially for players and coaches and fans. How cool is that to finally get your home opener?
Yeah, that'll be really cool. I thought we traveled really well to both games. There were a difference in both games that we played, and now we need all our fans and all the support we can get on Saturday. I think a lot of these guys will be their first time in our home stadium. So we're going to have close to 200 recruits. We're going to have some big time official visitors. Like it's going to be an electric atmosphere, and we're going to need it. We pushed it back a little bit to get the fans there, so it's not so hot and make sure it's safe and all that kind of good stuff. So we need everyone there, and these guys will really feed off that energy and create that home field advantage.
TJ Finley, after he had a really good week 1, it was up and down the second week, and you've talked a lot about the blocking and how that was an issue. Do you think that played a part in his performance, and even going back to the running backs, that performance? Do you think it was blocking was the main issue, or you mentioned execution as well?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of everything. I think it was blocking. I think it was decision making. I think it was like you talked about, the running backs having the patience and putting the ball where it needs to be, and controlling that extra defender in the RPO game. And I think we will continue to get better. I think and not just players, it's coaching too. We have to do a better job of putting them in better situations. So I think it was a combination of everyone involved, and that's usually what happens when you go out there and have a performance like we did. Not terrible, but just not to our standard. So I think that'll continue to get better, and we just got to continue to focus on the details, focus on the execution part of it, and getting the right looks in practice and all that kind of good stuff.
You mentioned the coaches getting better. It's new for them as well. And you brought up earlier Southeastern Louisiana last year after that loss to Incarnate Word, and then rattled off some wins after that. Did you recognize anything that you encourage your coaches to do differently at that time that resulted in that success that you could use now, or tell us about that experience?
Yeah, I think it's a very similar situation. It really is. And I think it goes back to the same thing, just focus on the execution. And that's something that we got better at last year as the year went on, and really continued to get better as the year went. And offense is all about rhythm, and you've seen it when we're just like right before halftime in that 2-minute drill, we were going, and that's the way it should look all the time. You see Cole making the big play. We got him dialed up. So it wasn't like it was like the whole game was abysmal. It was one of those deals where it was hit or miss. If the guy was open, the protection fell through. If the protection was great, we didn't get the ball where it was supposed to be. The receiver was, it's just one of those deals where it was just a little bit off. And so we got to continue to just get better and execute and focus on those details that show up on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, there was some good ball in the middle. It was a slow start and a slow finish.
Exactly.
But the slow start, it kind of happened against Baylor with the first 3 and out. Y'all picked it up pretty quick. Then we saw it happen again against UTSA. How do you combat that?
Yeah, I think we got to get TJ in a rhythm early, and that's something we'll continue to focus on. And he's a really good quarterback, and we got to protect him, and we got to catch the ball when we throw it to him. When the receivers get opportunity, they got to catch the ball, and so it's really everybody involved. It's coaching, it's playing, it's execution, and like I said earlier, usually when you lose, it's usually that execution. It's not just one person; it's usually the whole group.
Coach, I'll talk about Lenny Scott real quick. Last year, obviously, he was a quarterback in Incarnate Word. Now he's here on staff. What qualities did you see in him that made you believe he would be a good coach? Yeah,
very similar to Frank at UTSA. He just had that it factor, and a lot of people don't know he tore his PCL week 2 versus Nevada and played his whole season on a torn PCL and really fought through and sometimes wouldn't even be able to practice during the week, and then would go out there on Saturday and do what he had to do to win. And he's just one of those guys, very intelligent, really has the whole package. And, he's not 6'3". If he was 6'3", 6'1", 6 foot even, he'd be playing in the NFL right now. And, he's got an opportunity to play in the XFL and prove to people. But he's got a bright future in the NFL, or a bright future in coaching for sure.
And what type of impact has he really had on your team so far?
Yeah, I think he's just a good sounding board for those guys, and there's certain restrictions where he can't really coach on the field, but he's able to, when the guys come to the sideline and they ask him questions, or late at night, the quarterbacks go through and he kind of tells them, hey, this is how I studied, this is the way I did things. And so I know TJ and Malik and those guys text him at night and talk to him about, hey, how are we reading this, how are we doing this, and just another voice in the room that can help.
Just looking over the Jackson State, just the game film, what do you think about this team overall?
Yeah, I think they're really talented. I think they're really well coached. Their offense really sticks out to me. Very similar to us, high tempo, They like to establish the run, but they're really going to take what the defense gives you, and they can throw the ball. The quarterback's talented. They got some really talented receivers. I think their running back is really good. Offensive line is solid. Defensively, I think their D-line stands out. They're very aggressive and had a bunch of sacks last week, and they're not afraid to play man coverage. So it's going to be a big-time challenge, and they're used to winning. It's a winning culture over there. They're used to going in there. They're not going to be afraid of us or anything like that. So we got to come out and execute at a high level and play well to win.
It's a game your team's favored in, and we've seen before where Baylor was favored and they underestimated the Bobcats, and it resulted the way it did. How do you keep the Bobcats from underestimating Jackson State?
Yeah, I think last week, the UTSA game, obviously we weren't favored or anything like that, but I think that probably caught our attention. Hey, we got to. The details matter, and we were preaching that last week. It's one of those deals where you got to go out there and play the game. So I think it's one of those deals we got to come out here and we got to play really well. I think we need to start fast, like you said. UTSA and Baylor come out with a 3-and-out. That's not good enough. We got to come out here and put points on the board early and kind of establish that dominance, and hopefully we can do that. If not, we got to bounce back, continue to fight and scratch and claw, and just want to win. Whatever, if it's 13-10, if it's 3-0, if it's 61-58, whatever it is, just come out here with a win.
Kind of piggybacking on David's question earlier about Lindsey Scott, are there similarities between Lindsey Scott and TJ Finley, both from Louisiana, kind of journeymen in their college careers that ended up on your team? Any parallels you see between those two?
I think so for sure. Both highly intelligent, both can really spin it. Lindsey can run it a little bit better than TJ. TJ's bigger and probably throws the ball a little bit better than Lindsey. But both are highly competitive. Both had habits and both had things that we had to coach out of them from their previous stops, just because he's been in this offense, and one offensive coordinator, one position coach tells him, hey, when this happens, you're going to do this. Well, we do it a totally different way. So sometimes you see that flashback on game day, because you've done it so long one way that sometimes that creeps up on you on Saturdays and on practice as well. So it's continuing to getting those guys better. It's still his second game in the system. He got here in the middle of June, or really July, I think, whenever it was. He moved in before he was able to work out with us, but he really started with the team in July. So he's got to continue to get better. And I think he's obviously week 1 Sun Belt Player of the Week, right? That's what happens. I'm Nick Saban. He's Tom Brady. That's the way it goes. And then week 2 come out, whatever, and we don't have, it's one of those deals. But that's what happens. Head coach, quarterback, we've talked to him about that. So all we can do is go back to work and continue to get better. And, I think he's handled it the right way. I think you saw his leadership continue to show out there on the field. And so just really excited about him, and he's just got to continue to get better. That's it.
Are you and Coach Taylor back on speaking terms after last week?
Yeah, we've had a couple of group text messages and stuff like that. And to be honest with you, I'm just I'm focused on Jackson State and one of those deals. It's hard, anytime you lose, I don't take that very well, to be honest with you. I'm not one of those guys that when I win, it's like we're expected to win, and I'm kind of on to the next one. When we lose, it's hard on me. So for those 24 hours, I try to just get away and stay away and just watch the film and kind of focus on us.
Kind of the same 24-hour rule between a loss and a win.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's tough. It's easier probably with a win, because you win and you're excited and everyone, hey, all right, this. When you lose, it's one of those deals where it's just tough. At least for me, it's one of those deals where you take pride in what you put out on the field, and there's a lot of work that goes into it, a lot of recruiting and getting guys in the right spot, and a lot of work and game planning, and sometimes it doesn't go your way. So you got to go back and really see why You know, we've gone back and watched a whole bunch of film and you know, really did a bunch of self-scout, you know, on Sunday and Monday and kind of figure out, you know, maybe this or that. But I think it really just comes back to executing and guys being confident in what they're doing and going out there and playing. So.
You know, with this week, you know, Texas State's been pushing this whole bringing Texas State and San Marcos closer together. What does it mean about, like, when with the university, making sure, like, you know, they're a part of San Marcos just as San Marcos is a part of Texas State?
Yeah, it's huge. You know, getting the students involved, and I think no one does it better than President Danfus. And there's some things we're going to be doing this week, throughout the week, to make sure we get, you know, the students there and the university there. And I have a good feeling it's going to be a really good crowd. I really think so. So we just got to continue, but we got to do our part as a football team as well, and put a good product on the field and get people excited. And I think people are. Obviously, the UTSA loss is hard on everybody, but you know, you go out there week one and beat a Baylor team, and then, you know, really close loss to, you know, the number one ranked team in the American. I mean, that happens, and so I think there's a lot of things to be proud of. I think there's a lot of excitement still, and we got to go out there and capitalize on that on Saturday. Yep, good. I'll be here all day.
Let's do it. You mentioned Nash Jones. You probably won't like this one though. You mentioned Nash Jones out. Anybody else out this week from?
That was out previously or coming back type situation. Yeah, Nash will definitely be out. We'll have probably some more game time decision type people. Do we take Connor off the depth chart? No, he's still on it. He'll be a game time decision, probably leaning more towards out, but don't know that for sure. So I think it will have a couple of those. You know, a couple of these guys have just played a lot of snaps on defense and a lot of snaps on offense. So try to do a really good job today of taking care of their bodies. So hopefully that helps. But I think for the most part we are pretty healthy. Just you know, obviously losing someone like Nash is not ideal.
Bo Corrales too.
Yeah, he practiced today. He practiced today, so that was really good to see. Langston was back out there today. That was good to see. So we're starting to get healthier in other areas. Getting Myron back last week, we didn't get to talk about that. Obviously, he had a huge impact on the game and really good player. Chance Main out there made a significant impact. You know, you really saw him dominate at times, which was really good to see. So. We're down in some areas and getting healthier in others, which is you know, that's part of it.
Football right there. Ben Bell 2 sacks too. We didn't talk about that one.
Yeah, Ben Bell was really impressive, and he just continues to impress. And in the spring, fall camp, and then, you know, it translates. So he's been really good, and I really believe that with Revels and Ben and Sam and Chance and some of those other guys at the defensive end position, and you know, you got Devin Wright and some of those other guys like. Bryce Cage, like, we got some real depth in there and some real, you know, heavy hitters. We really do. That you know, makes it tough on those quarterbacks. You look at the last 2 quarterbacks that we played; they're not feeling good right now. You know, so that's a credit to our D line and a lot of those guys inside too. I mean, man, you got Terry Webb in there and Tavian and you know, Myron getting back now, and Cam Washington, I mean, and Christian Roy. Like, we got some depth, but we're going to need that going into conference play and for games like this. That's why you do it. Obviously, like I said before, I think the Nash, probably for me, losing that one was that one hurt. You know, going out there on the field and seeing him, but he's so tough, and I would say he might be back sooner than we think, just because of the way he's built and the way he's wired.